Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's community budget meeting. My name is Steve Hill, and I'll be facilitating this meeting on the county's recommended budget for fiscal years 2023 through 2025. It's my role to guide today's presentations and moderate the feedback session of the meeting to ensure everyone has the opportunity to share their input in a safe and respectful environment. We are so glad to have this time with all of you. We're providing interpretation services for this meeting. I'd like to introduce our interpreters, Alejandra and Brenda, who are providing simultaneous interpretation in Spanish during the meeting. For all the participants on Zoom, please note that even if you do not need interpretation services, you must still choose English as your language to hear the audio. This meeting is being recorded and will be available on the county's budget website. The purpose of this afternoon's community meeting is to provide the public an opportunity to learn about the recommended fiscal years 2023 to 2025 operations plan, commonly referred to as the recommended budget, and to afford you the opportunity to ask questions and provide general comments. We will start with a welcome from the county's interim chief administrative officer, Helen Robbins Meyer, followed by an overview of the recommended budget, including presentations from each of the county's business groups. After the presentations, we will open up for questions and comments from the public. I will provide instructions for both in-person and Zoom participants on how to ask questions and provide comments shortly. For now, I would like to turn it over to the county's interim chief administrative officer, Helen Robbins Meyer.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Those of you that are in the chamber, as well as those of you who are joining us virtually, great turnout. I'm trying to see how many people from the public are here. I know there's a lot of our county staff are here to answer questions, but thank you all for taking time this afternoon and being here. We're having another session Thursday evening, so you'll have another opportunity. If you think of something that you didn't ask today, you can join us on Thursday evening. As Steve mentioned, I'm Helen Robbins Meyer, the interim CAO. Many of you have known me for years as the CAO. I am retiring, believe it or not, just not quite yet, but pretty close. But for those of you that have been around a while, this is probably our, I don't know, fourth or fifth time that we've been able to engage in the public in these community budget forums. And each year we try to get a little bit better at listening and making sure we're addressing your needs. So what you're going to see today is a budget that we think really reflects what is most important to the community. You're going to see a lot of things in there like alternatives to incarceration, homeless outreach and services, expansion of behavioral health treatment, growth and self-sufficiency programs, investment in stormwater and environmental protections, kids, family strengthening, and a whole lot more. So for those of you that haven't seen it, it's 600 plus pages. There's a wonderful little executive summary outside on the tables there, which I think digests it really, really well. But if you have questions on any of those details, we're here to answer those for you today. We believe that all 600 plus pages really do reflect the core values of the county. Many of you have known the board changed a little bit over the last several years. We have 5 new board members actually in the last 5 years. So it's been a cultural change for us, and listening and valuing the community input is really center of everything that we're doing. I'd like to just say in short that this budget really represents a community budget, and it's our choice and our desire to be one county that serves everyone, not just a few, but everyone. That is what we are committed to. So I want to thank you for caring. I want to thank you for engaging with us. I want to thank you for those of you that have given us input all year long that's reflected in this document. I want to thank you in advance for the input that you're going to give to us today, and hopefully we can reflect it in our change letter, which will be coming forward in another several weeks. And with that, let me turn it back over to you, Steve. Thank you again for being here. We really appreciate your participation.
Thank you, Helen. Now for some instructions on how to ask questions and provide comments during today's meeting. For those here in person, please utilize the speaker slips provided at the front as you came into the chambers. If you did not receive one, please raise your hand now and a staff member will, oh, here we go. A staff member will bring one to you. So anyone who needs one, please just raise your hand. You can choose to either speak up to the microphone right here to my left, to your right, or write your questions or comments down and have them read aloud, or you can submit your questions and comments in writing only. Once you fill out the slip, please bring it forward to our staff person on your left, and she will make sure that I get that at the appropriate time. For those joining on the Zoom web platform, please use the raise your hand feature on the Zoom toolbar. Our team will notify you when you are up next, and at that time, please unmute yourself. For those dialing in via Zoom, press *9 to raise your hand and unmute yourself with *6 when the team notifies you that you are up next. When you are done with your questions or comments, please press *6 to remute. For those participating via the Zoom web platform, at any time during the meeting, you can use the Zoom Q&A feature on the toolbar. We have team members monitoring the Q&A, and they will reply to your questions. If you have a comment, please also use the Q&A meeting feature to provide that comment. Time permitting, our Zoom moderator will read the comments out loud. In the event that we run out of time, please be sure to provide your questions or comments on the comment cards in the room or through the Q&A function in Zoom. All questions and their responses, as well as comments, will be captured and available in the after meeting summary and posted on the budget webpage. As a reminder, throughout the meeting this afternoon, we ask that everyone be courteous and respectful to each other. Up next, we have a video for you, and then about 20 minutes of remarks from our distinguished panel. And then we will begin the public question and comments portion of the meeting. Our speakers for today include the general managers for the county's 4 business groups. First, you will hear from Ebony Shelton, general manager and finance and general government group, and the county's chief financial officer. She will be followed by Holly Porter for the public safety group, Nick Machione for the Health and Human Services Agency, and Sarah Agassi for the Land Use and Environment group. Before we hear from our speakers, though, we have video that provides an overview of the budget.
The county has a multi-billion-dollar budget. That's a lot of money, your money, but the county does a lot with it. We offer people services to help with mental health and substance use, keep neighborhoods safe, support affordable housing, address homelessness, build roads, inspect restaurants, buildings, and beach water, provide parks, and a ton more. So where does the funding come from? A few main ways. Nearly half come from state, federal, or other governments. You pay taxes to them, they pass money to us. We put it back into the community. About 22% comes from property or other taxes. Then, about 16% comes from fees we charge for services. The rest is a mix of sources. So we put all those together and it gives us a pot of money for the budget. But we can't just spend it on anything we want. Most of the time, the source it comes from dictates where it goes. We have some choices with a portion of it. When making decisions, we consider what we hear when engaging with the community. Look at what data tells us and make sure it moves us towards greater equity. This is roughly how the budget is divided up right now. About 40% for health and human services, things like mental health services, food and medical assistance, public health, and so on. About a third for public safety, including sheriff, district attorney, public defender, fire, and emergencies. The rest covers a wide variety of services: parks and protecting the environment, libraries, roads, planning, safety inspections, birth and marriage records, elections, and support for other groups. The chief executive who runs the county day to day puts together a recommended budget. This year, that gets released May 4th. That's when everyone can see what's in it. May 11th, individual departments will give presentations on their plans. May 16th and 18th, the public is invited to participate in community budget meetings. There are 2 Board of Supervisors meetings when the public can share comments on the budget, a daytime hearing on June 12th and an evening hearing on June 15th. That's your chance to weigh in person. You can also comment online. June 27th, the board meets again to discuss the budget. At that point, they might make changes to what was recommended. Once they're done, they adopt a final budget. That covers the fiscal year starting July 1st. Learn more about the budget, key dates, and events on how to provide input at sandiegocounty.gov/open budget.
So that video with closed caption language options is available on our county's budget webpage. As the video shared, these community meetings are part of the budget review process. Additional opportunities to be part of the process take place through the end of June and include public hearings on June 12th and 15th, and a comment period which is open now through 5 p.m. on June 21st. With that, I will now turn it over to the county's Chief Financial Officer, Ebony Shelton.
Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who's here with us in person, as well as those who are online. And a special thanks to all of our county department heads and staff who work so hard to prepare this annual budget that is before us all today. I want to just mention that the recommended budget document was released about 2 weeks ago. Behind this document, there's an ongoing planning process that helps to build our budget, and it's directly derived from the county's strategic plan, as well as our annual 5-year financial forecast. This slide is a visual depiction of our planning environment. It's a very dynamic and constantly evolving environment, and we receive input from numerous sources, including all of those of you who are joining us today. This slide represents the multiple inputs that are considered, including the various ways that individuals and groups, such as all of you, use to communicate various priorities on the budget. Thank you. This slide conveys the county strategic framework, which was adopted by the Board of Supervisors last year. The initiatives that you see on the right side of this slide sets the stage for how the county allocates resources to invest in the region. The wheel on the left details the county's general management system, our business model and values, with community engagement at the heart of all that we do. I want to also note in particular that as we build the county's operational plan, we're informed by information from various sources, including from community outreach that we do throughout the year, and from the county's Office of Evaluation and Performance Analytics, or what we refer to as OEPA. The primary activity of the Office of OEPA is the formation of the county research plan that will provide data and analysis to help us better invest public resources. Today's community meeting is to help us hear about what you think is important, and we'll take this information as we move forward through the budget process and through the county's research plan. As you hear more about what the county has planned next year, and if there's an area that's of particular interest to you, the county will be taking an even deeper look at the budget through the county's research plan, and we hope that you'll share that with us today. So let's talk about what it is exactly that the county does and what our core services are that the county provides. First, there are programs that the county administers on behalf of the state of California. These are functions that the state is actually responsible for, such as social services and health programs, but that the county implements here locally with program parameters that are set by the state. Next are services that the county is responsible for providing to the entire region, such as operating detention facilities, administering elections, and assessing and collecting property taxes, and ensuring environmental health. And finally, the county is responsible for providing municipal services to the unincorporated areas of the county, similar to the services that are provided by cities in unincorporated areas such as law enforcement, libraries, and land use. So what kind of funding does the county have available to support these core services? We'll take a look at that here in a little more detail. The county's budget is supported by 3 major categories of funding. First is what we refer to as program revenue, which is simply defined as other people's money. This is mostly money that we receive from the state and federal government, and they tell us how to spend it. That is, in order to receive this program revenue, the county must implement specific programs that the revenue was allocated for. The next funding source is what we refer to as general purpose revenue. This is the only source of revenue that the Board of Supervisors has complete discretionary decision-making authority over. This includes sources like sales tax and property tax. And because of its flexibility, there's of course inherently a lot of competition for this limited funding source. And the final category is one-time funding sources, which are used on a one-time basis in order to maintain a structurally sound budget. If we fund ongoing costs with one-time resources, the money will run out, and of course, we'll be in a situation where we're looking to mitigate those costs or to continue to find funding for them. So we're careful with the use of that funding source. Now let's focus on the upcoming fiscal year 23-24 budget. It proposes and how it proposes to make investments in this community. The recommended budget is $8.1 billion. This is an increase of $745 million, or 10% from the current year. Our business groups propose to spend these funds in various ways, with the largest share of increased appropriations being utilized by the Health and Human Services Agency, as well as our capital program. Over $600 million of the budget increase is focused in 4 key areas, the first being mental health, the second being homelessness and housing, our safety net program, and finally, capital investments. Mental health and substance use treatment are areas of significant spending. The county's increasing spending in these areas by nearly $100 million. Homelessness and housing, the budget seeks to invest more in this area by over $40 million through various programs, including the Innovative Housing Trust Fund. We're continuing to invest in our community by increasing our budget by over $200 million for safety net programs, promoting food security and nutrition, and to support micro businesses and more. We're also continuing to provide healthy and safe communities through our capital program, which proposes $250 million in new appropriations for projects, which I'll highlight for you here in the next few slides. There's so much more that's in this budget, including justice reform and sustainability, and you're going to hear more about those priorities throughout this presentation. The majority of resources supporting the budget growth are state and federal funding, as well as planned bond proceeds for some of the capital projects that we're planning to move forward with. Next, I'll highlight our staffing changes. In total, the recommended budget includes over 20,300 staff, which is an increase of 489 or 2.5% from the current year's budget. My colleagues here today with me will highlight the key changes within their areas, focusing on workload growth in safety net programs in HHSA, health and safe communities in the land use and environment group, to address key board priorities and operational needs in the public safety group, and staffing to reflect the growth across the county to support the delivery of county services overall within the finance and general government group. At this point, I'd like to share some information on the 17 capital projects proposed to receive funding in the fiscal year 2023-24 budget and how they align with our strategic initiatives in order to invest in the community. These capital projects are included in the County Capital Improvement Needs Assessment, or CINA, which incorporates departmental as well as community input and is approved annually by the Board of Supervisors. Sustainability is woven into all capital projects. Certain projects directly invest in the regional environment while providing opportunities to increase the well-being of county residents, including parks and libraries, for example. We'll focus on reducing disparities and increasing equity of access to health and social service delivery systems by advancing the behavioral health continuum of care and building a state-of-the-art public health lab. We'll continue to revitalize existing infrastructure in order to ensure continuity of operations and empower the county's workforce to provide world-class service to San Diego region. In support of the community, we'll continue to improve the county's fire protection district, shorten response times of public safety providers, and provide recreational programs to our underserved communities. As stewards of our existing infrastructure, we'll increase the lifespan and utility of existing facilities in support of programs designed to increase the well-being of our residents. And finally, we'll make meaningful enhancements across our justice facilities and improve existing systems to meet current standards in health, safety, and accessibility. With this summary of the budget, I will now turn the presentation over to Holly Porter, the Deputy Chief Administrative Officer for the Public Safety Group, so that she can share some of the highlights on the Public Safety Recommended Operational Plan. Holly?
Thank you so much, Ebony, and thank you to everyone for being here this afternoon. The Public Safety Group's 9 departments work to prevent and respond to crime, protect people from disasters, and provide life-changing services. We support the public safety and well-being of San Diego County residents and visitors through community-oriented services. Thanks to the collaborative efforts of our public safety team, justice partners, and the community, San Diego County continues to be one of the safest in the nation. As part of our ongoing commitment to justice system improvements, Public Safety Group departments, together with the Health and Human Services Agency, have included in the budget over $220 million to continue focusing on prevention, diversion, and reentry services collectively under the umbrella of Alternatives to Incarceration. This effort includes criminal justice system reform that focuses on improving community safety, addressing public health concerns, and enhancing connections to housing, transportation, employment, and healthcare for justice-involved individuals. We're also working to ensure the safety and care of those in custody, which includes improving healthcare in our jails. The Sheriff's Department has been working diligently and has already implemented most of the recommendations by the Attorney General's state audit. Improvements to our detention facilities are ongoing, including renovations to improve both jails and juvenile detention facilities, and working with our partners to further enhance mental health and medical care for justice-involved individuals, both in and out of custody. County fire and emergency medical services will continue to improve the quality and accessibility of pre-hospital care through something new called community paramedicine. This will eventually allow ambulance transport to something other than emergency departments. This might include a crisis stabilization center or a sobering location, depending upon the person's medical need. We're also in the process of improving emergency medical services and fire protection in the unincorporated areas by examining the best service delivery model for ambulance service in our rural backcountry and completing construction of the East Otay Mesa Fire Station in fall of 2023. Our region's strong record of regional law enforcement and justice partner collaboration, combined with our focus on meeting the needs of underserved individuals and communities, position us well to support community safety and address the drivers of crime. In furtherance of this, the District Attorney's Office will be adding staff and opening a South County Family Justice Center, which will provide victim trauma recovery for our community. Finally, the Public Safety Group will continue to work to sustain core public safety services. Among our biggest challenges is that several Public Safety Group departments continue to experience difficulties in recruiting, hiring, and retention, particularly in our Sheriff's Department and probation. Numerous efforts are in place to entice new hires, including intensive outreach and creating efficiencies in our hiring processes. We're also adding positions in critical need areas, including 11 toxicologist and pathologist positions in our medical examiner's office. Fentanyl deaths were up 869% in just a 5-year period. The devastating impacts of fentanyl in our community cannot be overstated, and we must add new toxicology equipment and staff to address the workload increases. The Public Safety Group's recommended budget is increasing by $137 million for a total budget of $2.6 billion and 8,055 staff years. The budget increase is driven largely by salary and benefit increases in the 9 departments. Also included is the addition of 40 staff, facility improvements to support crime victims and those who are incarcerated, and various cost increases funded by grants, such as funding for the California Advancing and Innovating Medi-Cal or CAL-AIM for adults and youth who are incarcerated, and a grant for pretrial advocacy and community connections program, which aims to get pretrial clients released from custody and into alternatives to detention in the public defender's office. In addition to the budget priorities described earlier, I'll highlight here some other initiatives Public Safety Group departments will focus on in the coming year. The District Attorney's Office will work with justice partners in the community to implement the Homeless Enhanced Legal Program, or HELP, which is a court intervention program for people experiencing homelessness. In addition, the DA's office will launch a transitional age youth diversion initiative, which will focus on youth ages 18 to 24 to address the root causes of criminal behavior with the goal of preventing further crime and victimization. The Sheriff's Department will continue renovations at the George Bailey Detention Facility and invest in services to improve outcomes for low-level offenders. This work will include connecting individuals exiting jail to case management services, including connections to interim housing and transportation. Animal Services will break ground on a new shelter facility in Santee, designed to provide accessible, comprehensive animal care and control services to everyone in the unincorporated area. They will also complete procurement of a mobile veterinary surgical unit with plans to deploy it to underserved areas in San Diego County. Child Support Services will collaborate and partner with organizations that specialize in fatherhood-related initiatives to ensure the entire family unit is supported in achieving improved outcomes for young people. The Office of Emergency Services is upgrading the regional mass notification software. It's a critical tool that's used by county staff to alert and warn people of disasters. The medical examiner is improving data access by launching a new webpage that will be updated daily and provide basic case information on individual decedents. The Probation Department is adding staff to their Youth Development Academy, which serves youth returning from state facilities which are closing. And in partnership with County Fire, Probation will add a fire program to provide incarcerated youth with training and work experience to prepare them for employment and fire service upon release. The Public Defender will support the implementation of Care Court. This is a new civil court process which will provide legal counsel as well as behavioral health and housing services to persons with complex behavioral health needs. And San Diego County Fire anticipates transfer of fire protection and emergency medical services in Borrego Springs to the San Diego County Fire Protection District, which will further enhance services to that community. We appreciate the opportunity today to provide an overview of the Public Safety Group and its 9 departments and our recommended operational plans to you, our community. Collectively, we're over 8,000 team members who work every day to save lives, provide services to crime victims, represent the accused in court, and improve community safety and well-being. The input of community members is imperative to our priority setting, and we welcome your questions and feedback this afternoon. Next, I'll turn the presentation over to Director of the Health and Human Services Agency, Nick Machione.
Thank you, Holly, and good afternoon, everyone. I have the honor to present the proposed fiscal year 23-24 operational plan for the Health and Human Service Agency. As an integrated health, housing, and human service agency, we have a very robust and diverse service network and programs designed to help all 3.3 million San Diegans to live well. Our mission is simple: making people's lives healthier, safer, and self-sufficient. We make this happen with the commitment of nearly 8,000 talented and diverse agency employees that found in 8 service departments and 7 support divisions. Our employees work hand in hand with all of my fellow county departments and groups here. And in addition, 360 contracted service providers and 540 Live Well San Diego community partners. All of us keeping community engagement and partnerships at the core of our efforts to build a region that's healthy, safe, and thriving. Now, before speaking to our upcoming budget priorities, I want to share a snapshot of how we directly served more than 1/3 of the entire county population this past fiscal year. We connected more than 1.3 million San Diegans to benefits like CalFresh and Medi-Cal to meet their basic needs. This is the highest enrollment in county history and equates more than the $1.4 billion in cash and food assistance benefits. To meet growing behavioral health needs, we provided approximately 105,000 San Diegans with existing and new mental health and substance use services. We also improved our public health service delivery and helped protect the public against multiple health threats like COVID-19, Mpox, the flu, and currently the increasing cases of hepatitis A. As part of our framework for ending homelessness in partnership with the Public Safety Group and the Land Use Environment Group, our agency staff had more than 25,000 engagements with people at risk of or experiencing homelessness and connected more than 1,100 people with emergency, transitional, and/or permanent housing. We also deepened our commitment to affordable housing and setting aside county property for future construction and opening affordable units for approximately 1,000 more seniors, families, veterans, and vulnerable adults. We know there's much more work that has to be done to support these priorities, and we'll continue to adapt to meet the needs of our diverse communities, advance health equity, and indeed reduce poverty. Despite anticipated budget shortfalls at the state and local level, our proposed budget will help us meet increased service requirements and needs for safety net services. The agency's recommended budget of $3.2 billion includes an increase of almost $377 million and 354 positions as seen on the last line of this chart. These increases are largely funded by federal and state funding, prioritized for required entitlement programs, things like CalFresh and Medi-Cal. We recognize that the need in our community is far greater than the resources we have available. And so this budget prioritizes our most critical core services. Now let's take a look at some of the highlights of the areas of involvement. To meet the safety net demands, we strengthen families and children, and to support vulnerable adults, we are proposing increases of $192 million. A significant portion represents an increase in cash assistance and CalWORKs childcare support payments, which are tied to growing caseloads and increases in mandated cash grants. We're proposing 208 new positions to increase access to essential safety net or public assistance service such as Medi-Cal and CalFresh, and maintain timely application processing, as well as supporting safety for vulnerable elders and dependent adults in our in-home support services program, as well as our adult protection services. And also to strengthen children and families by establishing a new child and family well-being department that will focus on prevention and keeping children with their families. To advance behavioral health and public health service delivery, we're proposing to add $13 million. This includes adding additional capacity across the entire behavioral health continuum of care, like crisis diversion services and long-term care beds, to improve the behavioral health of every resident of San Diego County. The public health infrastructure will be strengthened through strategies like adding mobile services to meet people where they're at. The county's capital budget also includes funds for a new state-of-the-art public health lab. Additionally, this increase represents 129 new positions to implement the state-mandated Community Assistance Recovery and Empowerment Program, also known as CARE Act. to provide behavioral health services and supports to those in crisis through a new civil court process, as well as expanding communication and community engagement and advancing work to address, very importantly, the opioid crisis that Holly just talked about, among other areas. Now, in order to advance our framework for ending homelessness and meet affordable housing needs, we have an increase of $42 million. Of that, $25 million represents an expansion of innovative housing trust fund that will be used to spur the development of new affordable housing units. Specifically to address homelessness, this budget includes new emergency sheltering capacity, eviction prevention services, expansion of a housing program for veterans exiting jail, and continued outreach to people at risk of experiencing homelessness. Overall, this budget is one that focuses on prioritizing the regional need for critical services for our most vulnerable San Diegans. We value and appreciate the ongoing feedback and engagement of our community partners, our advisory boards, our commissions, and we look forward to working together to advance the opportunities for all San Diegans to live well. Now I'll turn the presentation to Sarah Agassi from the Land Use and Environment Group.
Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for your time and interest in how we propose to invest county funds to serve our community. The Land Use and Environment Group protects the community's health and safety and preserves and enhances the natural and built environment. We like to say that if you live, work, or recreate anywhere in the region, it's likely that you interact with our services daily. Our proposed budget of $667 million supports region-wide services, including food safety inspections and consumer protections, as well as the land use decisions, stormwater management, and road services limited to the unincorporated community. This is an area with more than 500,000 residents spread across 2 million acres, larger than the states of Rhode Island and Delaware combined. To improve the community's connection to our services, we strive to engage all facets of the community at each step of our projects in 8 languages through workshops, surveys, town halls, and through our innovative Engage San Diego County portals. We are committed to sustainable, healthy communities for all through region-wide efforts that address water reliability and decarbonization, and climate action measures that reduce GHG emissions and conserve natural resources in the unincorporated area. We support solar energy use by waiving fees for solar permits and divert waste from local landfills through recycling education. We also educate consumers on electric vehicle use and cut our own team's tailpipe emissions by teleworking and alternate work schedules, which saved 3 million miles of commuting last year. Protecting our region's open space, farmland, wildlife, and water goes hand in hand with our climate work. We are committed to managing stormwater to stop pollution from entering local waterways, keeping our county one of North America's biodiversity hotspots through important conservation work on 45,000 acres that protect the region's most sensitive plants and animals, permanently preserving farmland and protecting crops on 5,100 local farms from destructive pests, planting 5,000 trees on county parkland, and leading a regional effort to plant 5,000 more. Improving environmental conditions in the Tijuana River Valley, finding ways to be more drought resilient, helping neighborhoods change their carbon-based behaviors, and completing our climate action plan update in 2024. Altogether, these efforts place our community on a path toward a healthier future. We are committed to making our unincorporated communities lovable, not just livable. We strengthen mental and physical well-being through first-rate outdoor experiences at our parks, campgrounds, and on trails. Our 33 libraries are trusted community hubs for learning, civic engagement, and inspiration. Our robust digital library is the second largest in the state, and we inspire reading with more than 40 little free libraries in the community and 56 more on their way. We are expanding access to fresh foods in underserved communities through certified farmers markets, safe food donation, and community gardens. We also take care of 2,000 miles of county roads, along with our sidewalks, bike lanes, guardrails, and traffic lights that serve homes and businesses in the unincorporated area. And we are committed to supporting affordable, sustainable housing in the right places. We empower the community by ensuring that they are not overcharged at stores and gas stations, advancing ways to use CalFresh EBT cards at certified farmers markets, and supporting economic opportunity. We permit home cooking operations, and our pest inspections help the region's ornamental plant crops, which are valued at $1.3 billion, get to market across the world. Our library high school program helps people earn diplomas. Library services help people read, learn a new language, find a job, access services, and pursue citizenship. We also focus on closing the digital divide in the unincorporated area through our comprehensive broadband plan to help people get online access for work, school, and resources. Our Safe Destinations Nights program has given 13,000 at-risk youth productive fun outlets, and our intergenerational programs connect seniors with active lifestyles. When it comes to public health, our services protect the food facilities that define our international food scene, and our beaches, one of the region's best features enjoyed by millions of people each year. We also prevent mosquito-borne diseases through education and treating thousands of mosquito breeding sites, and we regulate businesses that work with hazardous materials to protect people and the environment. Here is a breakdown of how Luge is funded. 70% of our revenue comes from federal and state sources and fees paid by our customers. The remaining 30% is from the general fund or other special funds. Our proposed budget increases by $37 million and 55 team members. We are committed to fiscal responsibility and creative solutions to help deliver our services, including safe county roads, buildings, parks, community centers, libraries, healthy agriculture and beach water, and a sustainable environment. Our incredible team comes to work every day with purpose and passion to serve. Our proposed budget supports more than 300 programs designed to provide all community members with a brighter, more equitable, and sustainable future. Thank you for the opportunity to highlight our proposed investments. I am joined by our Luge team leaders, and we are happy to answer any questions. I will turn the presentation to Ebony.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and to all of my colleagues here for sharing highlights of the budget with you all. We certainly appreciate your participation today and are ready to turn things over to the moderator so that we can take your questions, and we're happy to answer them for you.
So we will now open up the meeting for the questions and comments period. We will be rotating with groups of 5 from the following areas: the in-person speakers here in chambers, the Zoom web speakers, Zoom phone speakers, people that have used their phone to get into the Zoom link, and the Zoom question and answer written submissions, the Q&A. We will continue with that cycle until all the questions and comments have been heard or we run out of time. If you wish to speak, please submit a speaker slip. I have 5 already, but if there's more, please submit those. Or use the raise hand feature in Zoom, in the Zoom toolbar, if you have not already done so. Our moderators will call on you in the order that you are in the queue. To ensure that we have enough time for as many people as possible, you will have 2 minutes to ask your question or provide your comments. In the event we run out of time, please submit your questions and comments in writing. All questions and comments will be responded to in the after meeting summary and posted on the county budget webpage. As a reminder, you can also submit your feedback after the meeting through the channels shown on the screen. So let's begin with the first 5 participants from here in the room. And it will be Janice, and then Nadia, Lynn, Don, and I will read Don's, and then Lynn. So Janice, if we could begin with you, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Janice Luna Reynoso with a nonprofit Mundo Gardens in the South Region and District 1 in National City, and also serve the city of San Diego and Southeast San Diego and Logan Heights. While the county had millions of funding for food programs over the pandemic, and we understand the importance of food equity, we did not receive any funding through our application through the disbursement opportunity with the San Diego Foundation. We are the founders of the first and second community garden in National City that is recognized and known as a food desert. We also understand in National City and the surrounding areas, the high disparities, health disparities that impact us. As I mentioned, we're in the schools in Southeast San Diego, teaching in National City, in Logan Heights, but there's also other impacts. We understand the impact of environmental conditions. We have the highest air pollution rates in the state. So understanding how access to healthy foods when there's not that access, and access to environmental justice programming is really important. It's all connected to overall health and behavioral health as well. And so while emphasizing the importance of that, we want to encourage the county to continue to invest in food justice and environmental justice program. In our communities, we understand how everything is connected, and you'll see some examples of different programs that are not receiving the funding. I want to give a shout out to Rainbow Spaces, another organization in the South Bay that's doing the most work that they can, seeing those niche needs in our communities, and some that are very well recognized that are not getting any of that trickle down funding. And so just really making sure that we're focused on equity when we're talking about prevention and programming, that it really makes it down to the small grassroots organizations that need that funding, and that are also recognizing and partnering with other small organizations that are not getting the funding to share those resources. So really taking the time to understand that. And even though sometimes there's a lot of amount that is allocated in environmental justice, I can tell you, for example, not just myself, but other organizations, you can change the initiative. We're doing composting, we're doing education to create more parks, but yet it doesn't get to the very grassroots organizations that are having these daily conversations. And whether it is, you might see us doing some work that is related to community gardening and planting seeds, but we understand how that impacts mental health, and creating those opportunities for healing. It's very holistic. It's very labor intensive. We do it because we love it, but we do need it to be sustainable and fully funded. And so you'll see a lot of examples of organizations. You'll change the title, you'll change the initiative, but you're going to see that their work does need to be supported. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janice. Any comments from the members? Thank you very much.
The only thing that just to share with you, we have some of our team members in the back from the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice, Eden Bruckman, who's our Chief Sustainability Officer. We would greatly appreciate speaking with you to be able to discuss some of the aspects of environmental justice that we will be pursuing in this next year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next up is Nadia.
Good afternoon. My name is Nadia Kinayub, and I am the Executive Director of Rainbow Spaces. I feel famous now that I was responding. What began as a very personal project to do outreach in communities often untouched by LGBTQ+ representation has grown into a space of healing for many of our youth. Through coordination of efforts that include sports, camps, and dances, we've been able to take a holistic approach to mental health by prioritizing what every human seeks: connection and inclusion. Our numbers have grown from 5 to over 753 families in the span of 1 year. Through deliberate outreach centered in our communities, reinvesting our funds in local vendors, and partnering with our fellow localized organizations. It is through these efforts that we have created a plan to combat one of the most prominent issues facing our LGBTQ youth in South County: living without a place to call home. Many of our youth live a life without a place for themselves, either being kicked out of their homes or unfortunately not living in a safe home. They are couch surfing and relying on the generosity of others, though not at all fine hosts. We have given these youth a reprise, but are here to ensure that we advocate for more. We're advocating for an emergency youth shelter centered in South County that will allow our children to continue with as minimal trauma as possible. As of now, our city police departments in South County transport unhoused youth to Polinsky, which disrupts their education and removes them from their community, severing any ties they may have to normalcy. LGBTQ youth spend 3 times longer than the average youth in these environments, as only a third of the foster homes are open to them. Often we hear stories of a 90-day wait from our youth who carry that trauma into adulthood. Through a small 10 to 15 bed home type environment, we can ease the trauma, something not only supported by our first responders like IAFF Local 2180, our local Chula Vista Police Association, but also by elected leaders such as Imperial Beach Mayor Paloma Aguirre, Chula Vista Mayor John McCann, State Senator Alex Padilla, and US Congressmember Juan Vargas, all who personally understand the impact on our South County youth. We are small, so we understand the hesitation in entrusting such a large task to us, but we intend to coordinate efforts with our local organizations as we have done thus far, ensuring that we can create an environment of safety until each child can be safely placed in long-term housing. We currently are pending congressionally directed spending from Senator Dianne Feinstein's office, but we stand before you today asking that our Board of Supervisors help us to bring an emergency shelter to fruition so that we can return to our youth and ensure them that they will have a home.
Thank you, Nadia. Any comments?
Thank you for coming, Nadia. I appreciate seeing you here today. We do have $2.3 million included in the budget for specific to LGBTQ community homeless and housing services. I don't know if there's anyone here in the agency that might be interested in sharing more details with you, but just wanted to make sure that you had that insight as well.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Next up here in the room is Lynn, please.
Hello, all. I'm a resident of District 2, and I'm here to try to provide the perspective of the taxpayers in the district and all the districts, as a matter of fact. I tried to look at the budget for a few pages. I was looking at the Health and Human Services section, and what struck me the most was how many programs there are that seem to do very similar things. And I would like to think that if someone were designated to look over all these programs and try to consolidate them more so that there is smaller staffing necessary to administer all these services, we would save a lot of money. And I am very concerned about what I just heard about the $4,000 per person handout to 2,250 people in a random way. And I think that this just can open up a Pandora's box. We don't have unlimited financial monies to go to handing out things. We have an influx of immigrants coming. We're going to have to spend a lot of money to accommodate a lot of new people coming into our county. And yet this was designated for COVID relief. I mean, I just think that this is a little bit more than we need as far as largesse. I don't like the fact that the county is providing housing and motels for homeless who have criminal histories, and there's no oversight as far as I'm understanding it. They don't get tested for substance abuse. They can go on and live the way they wish with no oversight. That's not going to help them change their behavior. I don't like the Housing First program. I think it needs to have, like I say, guidelines, oversight. I also am concerned about this San Diego for Every Child program because they've just arbitrarily selected 4 zip codes to provide these monies that are given to families with no strings attached. Go ahead and spend it however. I think it's good to provide some oversight. I'm against the guaranteed income program. That again is going to open the door to more and more people see other people getting something for nothing. They're going to want it. It's going to create division and jealousy and what have you. I don't think it's a good idea. I know other communities have tried this. I don't think it's good for San Diego. And what else? I can say a lot more, but how's my time?
Time is up for the moment.
May I ask to Mr. Macchioni, is it possible to designate a staff person, or not just a staff person, but an accountant or someone with those credentials to take a look at your budget and find out where we can consolidate staff? We have a zillion programs devoted to housing and healthcare and what have you. And it's just too much. I look at all these pages. I mean, I just can't read it all. Okay, that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir?
I agree. We continuously look for efficiencies in all our programs. Thank you for sharing.
So next up, I will read the question from Don. And so the question for the panel is, why do our car registration fees go to Health and Human Services programs? Shouldn't they go to road maintenance?
Well, I think they should go to Health and Human Services programs, but I'll turn to my Chief Financial Officer, our Executive Director of Finance, Amy Thompson, to address that question.
Thank you. And that's a great question. We are assuming that the question might be related to a portion of vehicle license fees that the Health and Human Services Agency receives as part of what's called our realignment funding that's in statute from 1991. It is a really good question if that's what is referring to, because I would have to go back and look at the statute around that time. But just for a little bit of context, realignment repurposed a portion of sales tax and a portion of vehicle license fees to fund many programs at the Health and Human Services Agency and swapped out state general fund. It's really a small portion of our overall realignment funding. We get over $800 million that really helps us carry out those most critical services. And of that 800 million, the vehicle license fee portion is less than 10%. And so I don't know, definitely if that was what the question was related to, but happy to, follow up as needed with that one.
Steve,
Thank
I
you.
can also add on that because we do have other state funding that comes to the county for purposes of road related improvements. So the state gas tax is one of those avenues where we receive some funding. And for purposes of this proposed budget, we have $61 million, a little over $61 million that we have allocated for road resurfacing. And there are other components as well for purposes of road improvements. But for purposes of vehicle license fee, exactly, Amy is right, is that it goes back decades for purposes of the funding source.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you both. So at this time, we are going to move to the first 5 participants from the Zoom web platform.
Yes, we have 2 Zoom participants. First will be Ann Fiji, and second will be Emily Miller.
Hello, this is Ann Faggy. I'm resident of District 3. I'm a professional forester and an advocate with climate action programs, as well as a team member in Kate Sessions' commitment, which focuses on community engagement and intergenerational work with trees and climate action. My comments are for the county's program in investing in decarbonization through growing trees. First, continued tree planting in county parks. Secondly, feature fruit trees in healthy food programs and make sure that includes fruit tree pruning training so that you get quality, abundant fruit. Third, work with rural nurseries to source container stock so that we can ensure quality sufficient 15-gallon trees for public tree planting and 5-gallon trees for front and backyards. Those seem fairly small, but they are great investments in the larger effort to have climate action through trees, to cool our communities, and to provide a lot of other ecosystem services. So I look forward to working with the county. It's a relatively new program. You have a new urban forester, and we look forward to providing that regional perspective that we otherwise have trouble doing by individuals, cities, and organizations. Thank you very much.
Next will be Emily Miller.
Hi, my name is Emily Miller. I am a San Diego County resident in District 2, a student at San Diego State University, and an intern at the American Heart Association of San Diego. I want to thank the county for recognizing the importance of food security with a proposed investment of $6.9 million for food security programs. San Diego County families are having a hard time putting food on the table, made worse by the recent drastic cuts in CalFresh benefits and soaring inflation. We encourage the county to dedicate $2 million of this funding to produce prescription programs like Mas Fresco Plus, which helps the most vulnerable residents access fresh fruits and vegetables while also supporting local farmers and other small businesses. Mas Fresco Plus has been successfully improving nutrition security and promoting local economic growth across the county with ARPA funding, but needs additional funding to continue to serve this community. Thank you for your consideration.
Our next Zoom speaker will be Emily Chan.
Emily, can you unmute, please?
Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am, we can.
Hauka nya Emily Burgueño we nechuhi matat kwanangkopai naboom sinalkatungkopai and ya pipa naboom help me up Shamok. Hello, my name is Emily Burgueño. I'm from El Quenon Village, also known as the Ipe Nation of Santa Isabel, located in North County, as well as Sinalkatun Village, which is the Manzanita Band of the Kumeyaay Nation, located in East County. Today, I came to share some comments pertaining to the county's budget, highlighting the importance of including the Kumeyaay Nation throughout the many initiatives that were talked about today, funded by the county. And this can be considered in each item that you guys brought up. And then wanting to highlight the need for protection of sacred sites and cultural heritage sites when you start developing all the amazing resource centers or whatever development, right? You guys are talking about within this budget, prioritizing the protection of sacred sites, and that would be through NAGPRA law. As to public safety and health, prioritizing support on awareness and response to missing and murdered Indigenous people throughout the county of San Diego. I'm not sure if there is much awareness within this county board, but at the state level, there has been a lot of movement. So it'd be great to connect and collaborate on some of that work. So when it comes to mental health services, being specific to the homeland communities who have experienced through 3 waves of genocide here on Kumeyaay land, what we know as the city of San Diego or the county of San Diego. And today's generations that are surviving through the repercussions of those 3 waves of genocide, the last wave being state funded. And then, surviving through those repercussions of dehumanization, loss of traditional languages, meaning loss of songs, stories, and cultural identity, loss of land access, land stewardship, which shows through wildfires, flooding, and etc. substance abuse, diabetes, sexual violence, missing and murdered Indigenous peoples, domestic violence, as well as lateral violence within our own communities to each other. These are all things that are repercussions of genocide and what we are having to live through. So I just wanted to highlight some of the needs within my own communities. And when it comes to food security, including tribal farms, tribal agricultural practices, acknowledging traditional ecological science within any type of land projects, restoration, conservation, agricultural, uses. Just wanting to highlight the need to include Kumeyaay expertise, cultural practitioners, as well as Kumeyaay tribal government officials. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. Next, do we have any Zoom callers?
There was one comment that was directed to Mr. Macchione that was answered privately by a staff member, but it might be welcome for the audience watching to hear, which is based on the investments in your budget. What have you found to be the most effective mental health services that will be further explored in the coming 2 years?
It was already answered, but I'll have my Director of Behavioral Health Services give you another additional response to that. Dr. Luke Bergman.
Thanks. So the question is, what is most impactful, most successful? Is that
Most
right?
effective mental
Most
health
effective.
services that the county will be investing in.
Yeah. So as the mental health plan for people on Medi-Cal, we ensure that wherever possible, the services that we invest in are evidence-based. So virtually everything that we do is grounded in or anchored in really rigorous study in both experimental and real world circumstances. I think, and then I guess I would say that there is a lot of variability in the programs that we offer. This is a bit related to the question that was directed at Director Macchione earlier. I would note that all of that variability, especially in behavioral health, is really important. And doesn't necessarily reflect duplicativeness in programming, because it's so important that we have multiple pathways into behavioral health recovery, so multiple service options for people. That's in part why we sort of see that variability. It's by design. If I was going to focus on particular programs, I would highlight the combination in this upcoming budget and also in investments that we've made over the last few years in crisis stabilization units and mobile crisis response teams. These at scale are new services within the county. They are strongly rooted in evidence, but we are already seeing really significant impacts from these services on, I would say, maybe most importantly, reductions in emergency department presentations among people with behavioral health conditions, which is good for the general public because it makes emergency departments more accessible for folks who really need them. And it's good for the people who would otherwise have presented to emergency departments themselves, because the care that they get is more tailored to people with behavioral health conditions.
Thank you very much. And so back to the room then, Lynn, can you come on back up? Did you have another question for us? Yes, ma'am. I am.
Well, I suppose I could ask about affordable housing. And I've always been wondering, what are the requirements to qualify? For instance, how long would you need to have residency in San Diego? My concern is that if we keep providing all these paid for accommodations in motels or condos, which are really expensive. I know there's something that we're buying that amounts to over $300,000 per room. This is just extraordinary and out of sight. I would like to know why, well, what are the qualifications? That's going to be quite a draw, don't you think? For people from neighboring states or other areas of the country. Oh, well, gee, we can get free housing in San Diego. So how are you going to pare it down to something that's reasonable? I really don't like the idea of buying condominiums, you know, and taking up motels, buying motels and all. I think there are other ways to help the homeless. I think we could provide, I really do believe we need more mental health facilities where they get the oversight, and provide maybe large dorm type facilities. Why not dorm type facilities? We could save a lot of money that way and still give them housing and the care they need. So I guess that's my question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I'll have our director, thank you. I'll have our director of Housing Community Development Services, David Estrada, answer that. And as David comes up, one such solution is making sure we have shelters, to your point, the dorms in all cities, so we can take care of our homeless. And that would be a great opportunity. But to your question around the criteria, you were asking about affordable housing, David, if you could respond to that, please.
So the primary, can you hear me? So the primary criteria for affordable housing. Thank you. The primary criteria for affordable housing is income-based. We do have to follow fair housing rules. You cannot discriminate based on a protected class. So the affordable housing is available to individuals that qualify based on income. And that is the main primary criteria for affordable housing. Thank you.
I would hope that we give priority to single moms with children and families. And as far as single men are concerned, I really think that we should give them ways to work. There are plenty of jobs. And unless they're mentally ill, you know, we should expect something in return.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So Pam, do we have anybody else from the Zoom?
We do have a question from anonymous attendee. I'm sure the county is aware of the huge increase in homeschooling families in our area. How are resources for public libraries and educational resources going to stay in touch with the specific needs of homeschooling families? And that was answered. The county library supports learning at all levels for all ages, including the homeschooling community. We do this through arts and culture programs at our branches, our large collection of learning databases, and our wide variety of materials in both digital and physical formats. In this next fiscal year, we have increased our materials collection budget to $6.8 million, in addition to providing access to thousands of additional titles through our lending agreements with Link Plus and Circuit libraries throughout California. We have also made it easier for groups to book our meeting spaces through an online booking module. All of our 33 branches provide free high-speed Wi-Fi and access to computers and laptops.
Okay, well, I want to thank everyone.
Steve, if I can
Yes.
interrupt, there is one more hand up online from
Okay.
Anthony.
Very good.
Anthony, go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Anthony Avalos here, fourth generation San Diegan, and also the co-founder of the Council of Equity Advocacy San Diego. I just wanted to say thank you all for holding this meeting. I apologize. My grandbaby is in the background and she has very strong opinions on all budgetary matters. As far as the work that the county's already done to promote equity and equitable processes, I want to say thank you. I think that the equity assessment done by the Office of Equity and Racial Justice was tremendously beneficial. The reason I'm bringing that up right now is because in order to help rectify harms caused by the war on drugs, that impacted the vast majority of Black, Brown, and Indigenous San Diegans. I think that we need to look at allocating budget expenses for not only direct financial compensation in the form of I'm not sure what the term is, universal income, but in also funding things like behavioral health services, right? Making sure that the BHS identifies and allots funding specifically for those disproportionately harmed by San Diego's participation in the war on drugs. So just hoping that we not only have money allocated for community engagement to identify the aspects and components needed for community healing, but also to make sure that we are reaching those who most need the services. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that comment. So we have another question here in the room. Janice, if you would please come down.
Thank you. So the other half of what I wanted to say, my name is Janice Luna Reynoso. Again, I'm a resident of District 1 of San Diego County and National City. I also am part of the Behavioral Health Advisory Board representing District 1 and chair of the Community Engagement. Just wanted to put that out there, but I am here speaking as an individual as far as more outreach opportunities. This is actually a call out to more participation in our community engagement efforts and to participate in the BHAB, but really synthesizing a lot of the comments that are being shared today. I am aware of the work that the county is doing for cannabis social equity. I'm really interested in the behavioral health component and how can we get some of these behavioral health opportunities and funds to help implement that work and the services that are needed in our communities. And I speak from experience growing up in a disinvested community, but heavily invested in policing, and then seeing that there's yet to be more robust outreach and community engagement in the South Bay, in National City, San Isidro, all of the District 1 really. And so I'm seeing the gaps as an individual, as a resident, and then working with these small nonprofits and organizations. And even if it's like we're bringing in the healthy food, but we're hearing these conversations on how folks don't even have enough to eat or access to green space, and then they're being over policed. So just really tying it in, including the LGBTQIA youth. And so hearing these conversations, having that firsthand experience, understanding, we teach the Resident Leadership Academy at Mundo Gardens and share these opportunities with these small orgs that are coming up here, and understanding that environment, right? Environment is impacting them, but also that we're having to lean on each other for a lot of these services, of having to come up and potluck our food opportunities. So how can we reach out to the county, for more outreach opportunities? Yes, tying it into behavioral health service opportunities, tying it into the cannabis social equity assessment that the county is doing a wonderful job with. So not siloing all this work, because when we live in these communities, again, even bringing up the Kumeyaay, our relationship, we're very culturally responsive in the work we do. We're reaching out to leaders of the Santa Isabel tribe and other indigenous leaders. We have the most nationally recognized or even tribal communities in San Diego and then all of the nation. So, we don't want to miss that opportunity to include, to be culturally responsive, respectful, and holistic in all these areas that I'm mentioning. So, really synthesizing the work. When we grow up in these communities and we're doing the work, we're from there, we're invested, really hoping that we can make it sustainable. So you're hearing a lot of these comments coming up from people that we work with personally or that we're in contact with. And it's really important that we're able to not just be heard, and it seems that we're repetitive, but also create some kind of funding and some accountability to make sure that that our communities are being healed from the vast investment on things that we understand now are systemically racist. And we need more robust investment in our communities, just as it has done that has been harmful. We need that healing investment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. 1 second. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for participating this afternoon. I personally appreciate the passion that the public brings and thank you for that. On the screen, you have a reminder of the upcoming key dates. We appreciate your participation in the budget process. Additional information can be found on our website at sandiegocounty.gov/budget. You can also follow us on social media for additional updates. I want to thank everyone for participating this afternoon and wish you a very good afternoon and evening. Thank you.